You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. So, yes, Motherland is calling its diaspora home. Motherland is calling its children worldwide home, and even those on the continent, because as we all know, most Africans on the continent are not conscious of what values they have. So tonight, when we say Motherland is calling its children home, it's not only the diaspora. Consider yourself a diaspora if you're on the continent of Africa and not being conscious of who you are, what your identity is, what Mother Africa is, and what your continent has as opportunities and values for you. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this wonderful special edition on the Pan-African Daily TV. I mean, I'm so honored and humbled to always have you tune in from all our platforms in your numbers, and particularly on the Pan-African Daily TV Facebook page, which is one of the biggest growing platforms right now. And I want to give a shout out there for Patrick Kasarim, who is the power engine out there on that page, and some of the contributors and content providers that are supporting this mega project. So I want to thank all of you, particularly those that have been giving a feedback on our guest today. Dr. Mama Desta Meghoo is here again, and I mean, just the poster and the postage and the name, the brand of that name left our followers crazy, and happy to just see her here. But if you are watching her or joining for the first time and you don't know who Dr. Desta Mama, I call Dr. Mama Desta Meghoo is, so make sure you warm your seat, prepare yourself to discover this marvelous queen of Africa. Yes, she is extraordinary. I mean, I lack words to describe her. It's not just like because I'm a woman and I'm being emotional and I want to put some, ice the cake a little bit. No, this is the fact. This is the fact. You don't want to believe it, but which women in her age and her generation, African women, will still have 10 kids, 10 children, raise them up uniquely, and 13 grandchildren, and we don't even know what is going on right now. I mean, that was the stand when we met her last time. Now we didn't even know what happened. I mean, since she was here, and that's the more reason why she is here to, to have a friendly family conversation with this whole Pan-African Daily TV and Pan-Africanists and Africans worldwide family when we gather here tonight to celebrate the Women's Week on the Pan-African Daily TV. I'm more than thankful and grateful actually for her works, for all what she's been doing, but she also has worked with some of the powerful women out there on the continent, supporting projects, and you would get to know about them in a while. And please, hey, put out your hands for the queen. Yeah, and one more thing. I mean, you need to know where she's coming from, where she is presently, and where she's going to, because you know what, this queen mother here is still not done yet. I mean, she does, by the time you think she's done, no, she's just starting. She's just starting. She's the power. I mean, like we say, infatigable, the real African lioness. Yes. All right. So I would jump into the conversation right away, but let me just welcome all of you that are joining this platform. I know we're really early today. Yes. We're quite early today, and this is a warm Friday evening, and so we'll be pulling the conversations quite simple, easy, keep it, relaxed as we're entering the weekend. But even though in Germany, maybe we are still going to be in a lockdown for a while, because, the numbers are rising up every day, and even though they started opening up a little bit, we're still hearing now from Robert Koch Institute that, the figures in the past days are just, skyrocketing. So there might be another restriction. So event that we ought to have had, like the Africa Festival Tübingen in Germany that we have been hosting for the past 15 years, might not take place this summer, regrettably. But we are looking forward to celebrate that in Ghana 2021. And I'm very happy Queen Desta is here because Ghana is a footstool. And but even on the continent also, we're still really looking at the way the pandemic is shifting. And in any case, we're going to have all these events virtually. So stay tuned. So I want to welcome you, Dr. Mama Desta Meghoo, Queen. Hi, Ray. Big up to you. Good evening, my lady. How are you?
Thanks, give thanks, my blessed daughter, sister, queen. It's really a joy and a pleasure. Whenever you invite me, whether to watch or to participate, because what you're doing is so important. You're giving voices to us women and Africa in general to inspire and encourage, because what we're doing, yes, there's a superhuman side to it, but most of all, it's about love for Africa, love for African people. And that's the fuel, that's the energy. So I'm happy to share it and to get your energy. You're always so vivacious. So give thanks for having me here again, all the way from Addis Ababa.
Good. I mean, she just said it all the way from Addis Ababa. Tell us. I mean, people see, they say, oh, Jamaican, Addis Ababa. How come? Were you born there?
Well, it is, your show is Pan-African Daily TV. I am the quintessential Pan-African. I'm born in Jamaica, educated in the United States, and I've been living and working on the continent since 92, but permanently living on the continent in Addis Ababa for the last 15 and a half years. So that is the Pan-African narrative and the story of the return. When they took us away through those dungeons, they said it was the door of no return. That's not true. We have returned.
Beautiful. Beautiful. The door of no return. We have returned. And I'm sure you are one of the ones that smashed that door open.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well, I remember when Nana Rita Marley, she was the first one to receive her Ghana citizenship. And again, our dear brother, and I have to just mention this because I think he is more pro-woman than most, even some women that I know. It's a deputy chairperson, Kwesi Kwarte, who I just visited this evening to say farewell because his term is over at the African Union. He's headed home to Ghana, surrounded by his wife and all his daughters, 4 daughters. And he facilitated the first year for Nana Rita Marley, Nana Afua Adobia, to get her Ghana citizenship. And then that set a precedent which allowed the next 3-4 years for us, which was a group of 34, to get our Ghana citizenship. And now it's become a staple. So the last was, I think, 110. And this year, again, there'll be another 100 plus that will be receiving Ghana citizenship. So we're very thankful.
I mean, this is very, I think, very crucial and essential as the news. Just tell us more. You're saying that more than 100 and plus will be receiving their citizenship. What has it taken? Why has it taken this long? And what does it take? Probably for potentials that are saying, yes, I want to jump in and be amongst that.
Absolutely. Well, again, why it's taken this long, politics and law, it's not necessarily, it doesn't go in tandem with emotion, passion, and even the greatest desire and most positive intent. It does take time, and things have to be passed through all the chains and so forth. So we've passed through a majority. There's still some hiccups along the way. But I do believe where the Ghana government is concerned, it is the recognition of the importance of the African diaspora. And that year of return really triggered the wheels in one's mind. Let's face it, there was economic benefit, but there was great social benefit and cultural, so forth. Not to mention psychological benefit for those of us who were returning home, and just that's home. So there's a lot of work to be done, but we're on the road. That's the most important thing. And even here in Ethiopia, there's also a parliamentary decision that was taken 2 years ago, which has now allowed Rastafari and those of African descent who have been here, most of them undocumented, some for decades, who are now legally recognized. So they receive something called, it's a permanent residency, which says foreign national of Ethiopian origin. Because in Ethiopia, they don't have dual citizenship. So this is the closest you get to it. And you could do anything and everything as an Ethiopian citizen with this particular identification card.
Mhm. Wow. So like, if you say they don't accept dual, if I want to be an Ethiopian citizen, so I have to give up the other nationalities that I have.
That's correct. That's correct. In the case of Ethiopia, Ghana has dual citizenship, and some other countries do, but for the most part, Ethiopia, it is Ethiopia or wherever else. So this permanent residency does allow you, again, it's about the rights and privileges that you have. So you can do everything, purchase land, build your home, have a business, everything, but you cannot vote. And you cannot hold public office.
Okay. I know, I mean, that's one of the foundations that you've been putting out there. That's why this information is very relevant, particularly to our brothers out here. Ethiopia is one of the, I mean, we know it. They say it is the land of the origins. The origins, why?
That's right. Well, the history of Ethiopia, it stems way back. And of course, being the one African country that was not colonized, that maintaining of the sovereignty. But when you go back historically and you look at even empires, Nubia, even as far as India, Dr. Ranoka Rashidi has done so much research that looks at the reach that Ethiopia has had historically, through trade, through diplomacy, and we're talking of millennia, not just the other day. So with that, again, it is indeed the land of origins. And I remember one day having a conversation with Baba Mal, who was visiting, and he was telling me, I found the Fulani people. This is where we're from. This is, so it all stems from here, and then it spreads right out. And interestingly enough, even when you come to Ethiopia, you can see every phenotype, every facial structure, every shade, everything that you can find throughout the continent is right here in the land of Ethiopia.
I keep wanting to break you because like I want to see. No. Like I want to snatch that word that you say, the Fulanis are here, because looking at you, Dr. Mama Desta, you look like a Fulani origin. I mean, I know them from Cameroon. They're slender. They're the most beautiful Nubians that we know. I mean, like they came in. They're so straight, slim, nice, beautiful, straight oval face, and I see that.
That's a little bit more, but
I mean, like, they don't have the broad face like us, the monolithic, easy and African look or something like that. But I'm saying, like, is that wrong or?
No, absolutely right. And again, it goes back to even what they call Indinknish, which is also known as Lucy, and so when we understand how important it is that we have a shared lineage, this common bond, and in a place that has defended, as I said, the sovereignty, which means we defended the culture, the language, the food. So many things have been preserved. There's certain parts of Ethiopia that you can go to right now and you feel like you're going back, traveling in time. The clothing, the utensils, the things that are used, it's incredible. And then on the other hand, you can come here to Addis Ababa where you can do a show like this, by the use of Wi-Fi and other forms of technology and so forth. So it's just an incredible space that right now is going through so much and needs our love, needs our prayers, needs especially from the women, especially from the mamas, because many times, as we know in Africa, the challenges that we face are not just the internal things, but the external pressures.
Absolutely.
And we have to be honest about it. So the best thing that we can do is our best, and also ensure that our language and the things that we're saying are not condescending and negative and hateful and painful, but really trying to find ways as the women, as the mamas, to heal and to love. Because what is a mother? A mother loves a child unconditionally. It doesn't matter what that child does. You may not like what the child is doing, but you love them unconditionally. This is the love that we as women, the mind of the African woman, the beautiful mind of the African woman, we're able to do. And now more than ever, this is needed. And not just in Ethiopia, but in other parts of the continent as well.
Correct. I can't wait to interview, Her Excellency, the President of Ethiopia, which happens to be the second women leading Africa after Liberia's president. I mean, this is a milestone. And is this not the moment where we say, yes, the queens can rule?
Well, again, when we talk about the land of origins, Ethiopia has not had any shortage of female rulers. We can go way back to Aksum, to Yodit. We had Zauditu. We even had Empress Taitu, who we celebrated, that was the wife of Emperor Menelik, but very instrumental in the victory of Adwa. So Ethiopia has had no newness, sort of, in terms of women leaders and women who are at the helm of the development and the advancement of this country.
Hey, now the discussion for Ethiopia, we're going to have you again on one-on-one on that, because this is very interesting, as most often we either to West East Africa more, and Ethiopia is some kind of like really amazing, even though our history is found right there, the origins of Lucy, and in the museum right there in Ethiopia. And when I visited, I was like, you feel like our sister Kalena yesterday was saying, when you go to Kemet in Egypt, you feel different. When you go to Ethiopia, I was also at Assum, and I visited even the Covenant place. Where it was just amazing. You go to some of these places, you're like, you're untouchable, like your feet are not touching the soil.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
so that is the feeling. Yeah.
It's a powerhouse. And, I'm really thankful for, as you mentioned before, Nana Rita Marley, her vision for repatriation and reintegration also, because this is what we're talking about a lot now, whereas before, repatriation and returning home is and was really important. What's equally important is reintegration, because when we come home, we have to relearn so much. Whether you were born on the continent and have been abroad studying, working, whatever, or whether, like myself, were taken away through the transatlantic slave trades, as my ancestors were, and we've returned home. We have to begin to get to know each other again, our communities, our families, our traditions, our great traditions that are just robbed from us when we get out there in the West, because you're grinding, right? You're hustling, and we forget those little things. Even something like the greeting. It was a bit frustration. I must admit, frustrating when I first came, and you don't just say hi or hello, shake hands, and that's it. Salam, how are you? How are the children? How is your family? How is the weather? How is the... And it doesn't take more than a minute, but it seemed like a lifetime at first. Now, this is the norm. So something as small as this, that greeting to ask, how are you? How is your family? Is so warm. It's so wonderful. So I'm really thankful when I made the decision to repatriate and to come home permanently, because I was thinking of Ghana, coming out of Jamaica, that's the line. That's the ancestral line in terms of bloodline, right? Coming from West Africa. But Nana Rita said to me, she said, Des, you hold the East, I'll hold the West. Those are people there, we'll do this together,
I hold the center.
Hey. That's it. And then we've got Dr. Bennett, Ambassador Bennett, they're holding things together with the Diaspora Africa Forum, which is really another important part of what we women are doing, because it's mostly women on the board, mostly mamas, again, that are carrying it. And not because brothers are not available, not interested, but this is the way it has come. The women are coming together. The women are gathering, you know, one by one, two by two, three by three, to do incredible work, because we realize that what a woman do, a man can't. Seriously.
Seriously, of course.
Seriously. And it's not about them not being equal. It's just natural. The way that a woman does things, the spirit, the manner. And we're in a time where compassion and nurturing is necessary.
Mhm.
The male approach tends to be linear, and you know, they have a different way of doing things, and it's appropriate.
Mhm.
It is appropriate at some time,
Absolutely.
some place. It has a
Mhm.
place. And when we come together, it's even perfection. But
Mhm.
right now, mother's love, the woman's love, the woman's compassion and ability to listen and understand and give support, only we can do that at this time, in my estimation.
Correct. Of course. Yes, as the nurturer, she. That's why we say mama. It's that.
That's the
That's why
same.
we call you mama, and that's why we so humbled and privileged to have you here.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
this title. You know, people say, oh, doctor or queen or empress. I love mama. That to me is like the greatest thing. And my mom, you know, my mom
sorry.
really having a strong mom as I had, and my grandmother, my auntie, you know, Aunt Doreen. It's real. This is the village. It's the village style, and we want to come back to that African way of doing things. You know, nurturing each other.
Absolute. Now that you said you love to be called mama, I mean empress and queen and doctor and whatever. Now let's just get into that title, mama. Um, you are a mama of 10.
Yes.
You are a grandmama of 13. Tell us.
Correct. That's correct. That's correct. And I will celebrate my 60th birthday this year, August 15th. You know, many people are like, why you say your age? I'm happy. And it's not just the age, but it's the stage. And I must say, where my children are concerned, I could not feel more blessed. I've got 5 sons and 5 daughters. And my children make me proud. I don't have any rocket scientists. I don't have any nuclear physicists. I don't have, but I've got bright, hardworking, loving, and generous children. And the test to me is everywhere I go, and people will meet and say, oh, you're Desta's mother, you're Ayana's mother, you're Janelle, you're Tekla's mother. Oh, they're so this, they're so. That is the test. When other people can say to you, your child is a good child, your child is honest, your child is hardworking, your child is compassionate, that is the test. Because as parents, sometimes we confuse what our role is. Our
Mhm,
children don't belong to us. We're not raising them for us.
mhm.
That's not the right way to go. We're raising children to be placed in society, to be change agents, to be
Yes.
that force, that good spirit, you know. And so I can say that with no apology, you know, that I really have been completely blessed with my 10 children. Is it perfect? No. What family has this sort of perfection? But it's colorful and it's vibrant and it's always energetic when we're together. You know, it's just incredible. And I'm seeing now my grandchildren, a whole new generation, and I try to spend as much time with them as I possibly can, because I want them to know me. Even though I'm here in Africa, I still try to make sure they know my smell, they know my voice, they know the things that I stand for, you know. And so it's happening. My grandson the other day, Noah, said to his mom, she saw somebody that had on, I think, a kente. He was like, that's mama's clothes, because he identified African clothes with me. So that's mama's, you know? So that's the greatest joy. And we have to, as parents, find a way in this very difficult time to understand our children. They're going through a lot. These 21st century children, young people, what they're going through, it's unimaginable. Whether it's COVID, whether it's issues of Black Lives Matter. And it's not that these are new issues, but the way in which they're being dealt with are very, very hard for young people. So we have to exercise patience, tolerance, and listening, and giving them a platform to be able to express themselves and find their way, navigate their way through this stage of their life without being judgmental. We can certainly have our opinions, that's our right. But this, as I said, is the time for compassion, care, concern.
Those are the words of a mama, of a mother. Now, I just calculated, and I like 23 out of you sitting there, looking so young. And let's put it mathematically. These are 23 nations of Africa. So you, a mother of half of the continent of Africa. Now, you look at this continent and like a mother. I mean, it's past, it's present. What do you see the future?
Well, you know, I had an experience this morning, because there are those times when you feel very, I wouldn't say doubtful, but concerned. And this morning I was invited to a school, St. Yared School, not very far from my home. And I was told about a young man named Yared who had opened this school, and there's over 300 children. Some of them are HIV positive. Some of them have disastrous stories of rape, 12 years old, giving birth, incest. I mean, painful stories, but also in powerful, positive stories. So when I went this morning with my husband, Prince Merid, he reminded me that he was one of our children 16 years ago at a project I had called the Children's Village. For 5 years, we fed about 100 children a day. It wasn't an NGO, because my thing is, as Africans, we never needed institutions to help care for each other. We didn't need our villages or senior citizen homes. This is our right, our duty, and our responsibility. So when I saw this young man, and the ambassador from Australia was there, and it's just an incredible story, and I hear BBC is getting ready to do a documentary on him. He is fire. And the flowers behind me, they presented me with the flowers, and he recounted that he too was a homeless child, and one of my children inspired by me 15 years ago. Who knew? I had no idea. And here this young man for 10 years had been working and establishing this school, and is making much more than I did. So my children are not just from my loins. And the hope for the future is bright because of these seeds that we have planted and have nurtured. And my children were in America. The 4 younger ones lived with me here in Ethiopia for a while, but then they had to go back to the States. So my mom, their dad, their siblings, the village had to help surround them with love and care. And though some may have criticized it, well, you know, you have your own that you have to take care of. What are you doing here with these other children? I'm reminded of Malcolm X, who said to the African Union, OAU, back then, when he wanted to develop the Organization of African American States, who said, you know, we can't do that right now because we're trying to get Africa together. And Malcolm X said, you know, it's the good shepherd that looks after that one lost sheep, knowing that the 99 are safe. And
Absolutely.
that's what it is. It's easy to love your own, but can we love other children? Can we
Mhm,
love other African children that are
mhm.
not our own? And I'm telling you, today I was moved and I felt so reinvigorated about the future because of these youth. And these youth are not waiting for us. We have failed in many cases because we're looking at things from a different perspective, and there's so much to juggle. It's not necessarily out of not wanting to or not being able to try to help our children develop in the best way, but circumstances sometimes just doesn't allow the resources to fully do what we have to do. So guess what? These young people, they are now taking it into their own hands. And this young man, Yared Wolde, you're going to be hearing a lot about him.
I'm going to have him on the show. I'm going to be
He is
having him on the show.
have to. I mean, like I said, BBC is preparing this documentary, and even said, he said, "But Mama Desta, you know, your story is part of it." I said, "No, it's not, babe. That's your story. My work is not. I didn't do what I did. A mother doesn't do what she does for the story. You do it because you're supposed to, because you have the ability." And so, Yared Wolde is just phenomenal, phenomenal. So the future's bright.
I mean, we have millions of them on the continent, you know it, like him.
Yes.
And if, for instance, you call BBC, will pick out one and show it's a million out there on the street. As you know, I'm saying it because that's where your heart lies. I followed your projects. Exactly, that's it. And we are on the journey of creating this, let's just say ANN, African Network Broadcasting. And so it's not just going to be a story of one in a million. It's going to be a story of millions that are doing the same thing, but doesn't have that platform or will not
Exactly.
catch that in attention if it wasn't for whatever reason that he had come up to, I don't know, the other mainstream media would not even get that attention to sell. So what role do you really think that we have to, I mean, powerfully build this media? We must do it.
Yes. This is absolutely crucial for our success, both on the continent and in the sixth region. We have to be able to tell our stories from our point of view. As you're saying, every now and then, BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, they'll pick up one or two that's really the sexy story, and you know, it has a life of 24 hours, and that's it. And you know what? We're thankful. Any media, positive media, is good, okay? But that's not what we're talking about here. And what you're doing at Pan African Daily TV is crucial, because these platforms will allow, as you said, continuous stories, all, and this makes you encouraged, because you know it's not an anomaly. You know it's not something that is one in a million, this Yared story. But there are millions of Yareds. I spoke about this once during the Ebola crisis that happened several years ago. I said, you know, it's not the narrative of the Great White Hope coming in to save the day. It's those mothers in the community, those fathers and brothers and community that on their own were taking in children who are orphaned, that were helping to care for those who could not, that were burying, that were doing so much. The stories that you don't hear about. Well, the Pan-African Network, what you're doing and others are doing, that allows us to not only tell our story, but tell it from our perspective. Because so
Absolutely.
many times when I see the stories, the way that they're curated, I'm like, you know, that's not our voice. You know, that's not the fullness. You don't get it. You don't get the full quality of our culture and our experience. So it's important for us to support you. That's the reality. We have to be able to watch you and listen and share with you. What do we want you to do? What do we want you to cover? What are the things that are
Absolutely.
important to us? You know, and then
Mhm.
you in turn provide us with those platforms. So I thank you, my dear Queen Sister Susan. That's why when I get the call, Mama Desta, 48 hours notice. Okay, count me in. We're here.
But of course, that's also us, isn't it? That's our cultural, like we say, awakening or who we are truly. I mean, I would not want to. Most of the guests that we're having on the Pan African Daily TV is 24 hours or even just an hour before, because that's exactly who we are. I mean, we are not, like I said, oh, you need to send some questions. Did I send you any questions for any reason, anytime that you were here? Because you cannot reproduce or curate or edit what you are, Mama. Tell me.
Yes, no, you're
What kind of
absolutely
questions would I, for instance, what kind of questions on earth would I have prepared for an interview like this with you that would give us everything that you're just saying coming out? Even the Yared, I
right.
would never have mentioned.
Exactly. Well, I think there's two sides to that coin because you're a professional, and whether you're scripting questions or not, your line of questioning, everything is always professional, yet it flows. So I think you can have the best of both worlds. You exemplify that. For me, why I do sometimes like questions, it allows me to really fully prepare and get any additional information that can be shared that I may not have even thought of, and I want to verify. We say trust but verify,
Absolutely.
you know. But again, just one question can create a whole chain of conversation, just as
Hmm.
we're doing right now. So I think it's about not making ourselves too rigid, but also not being apologetic. If you decide that that's something eventually you'll go to, that you'll have those three key questions as your formula that then, flows into everything else. The most important thing, though, you as a host and as a curator of this show, is you have to do what you feel. What makes you so unique? What makes your show? What makes Dr. Susan? What makes Dr. Efua Tata this unique individual that we all want to listen to? It's your personality, it's the warmth, it's the energy, not sort of the rigid line of questions and the formula that we have in journalism. So you're bringing your culture to the camera.
Mama Desta, you are also a host. I mean, and you're also a curator. Coming up this Monday, I'll be training co-host for the Pan African Daily TV. Like we say, we are overcapacitated. And I mean, when I dropped that flyer out, there are more than 100 young people that are just passionate. And because you don't need to have any degree, or if you just have a mouth and a love for Africa, come, we're going to do this together. And this passion that you're talking about, I learned it from you. I see it from you. I mean, your biography is one of the longest. I didn't even read it. I just let her tell me what she's been doing along for all this while. She's an artist. She is running I mean, what is it that we should know?
Yes. But one of the things that I'm most proud of is really working with the Diaspora Africa Forum.
Yes.
As I said in the first interview we did, it's the first and only diplomatic mission on the continent, or in the world for that matter, that works on issues of the African diaspora, be it recognition, reintegration, opportunities,
Mm.
access, and so forth. So, it's not easy sometimes, because my job is to make sure that the African Union never forgets us, which means you're
Right.
constantly knocking, you're constantly pushing, because let's face it, the continent has other fish to fry. This may not necessarily be the priority.
Mhm.
So you have to push the envelope. But it's a duty, it's a responsibility. It's not enough for me to come home and say, okay, I'm home now. What about the others who want to come home? And what about the others who are on the continent that want to be able to give to the continent in a progressive, meaningful manner? So I think definitely from my African diaspora returning hat, that's really important to me.
Mhm.
Also, it's crucial that I'm a mother. The ability to raise and touch children's lives is a precious gift and a precious honor. And
Mhm.
so I treasure that. I really do treasure that. Whether I'm the best mom or not, who knows? Only the children can, but who is the best mom? What does that really mean? I do know that exposing our children to as much of their culture as possible as Black women is duty. I did rites of passage ceremonies for my daughters and son. You know, these are the sorts of things that I hold near and dear as a parent, sharing their African identity and what has been ripped and robbed from them. Third, as a curator, a cultural promoter, that's very, very important to me because our culture is our DNA. The way we walk, the way we talk, what we eat, and preserving and promoting our contemporary art as well as our historic heritage is very crucial. And this is why I was really glad when the AU deemed 2021 the year of arts, culture, and heritage. So we are looking forward to doing some activities that will include and emphasize our arts, our culture, and our heritage. And so with that said, one special program I've been working on is the Pan-African Wing. I think you know the Addis Ababa University Institute for Ethiopian Studies. It
Correct.
was his palace. He gave it to establish, which was then Haile Selassie University, then after the Addis Ababa University. So there's a wing with 4 major beautiful rooms that are maybe 2,000 square feet or so. And so I've been retained to curate the first permanent Pan-African exhibition that looks at the relationship of Ethiopia and Pan-Africanism. So that's something that's really near and dear that we've been working on because it will be a place where academicians, students, scholars, visitors can come and see the relationship of Nkrumah to the Majesty, Uhuru to, again, Emperor Haile Selassie, the gifts that were given to the emperor from all over the continent, the students from all over Africa that His Majesty provided students to come and study in Ethiopia. So there is so much there that is going to help us connect the dots even to the future of Pan-Africanism and the role of Ethiopia when we look at things like the Black Lives Matter movement or Agenda 2063. Where will we be 50 years from now? So the work continues and continues.
This is serious, particularly when you start touching the AU and how you need to push. How far do you think that, I mean, you've been doing this, particularly for the SIT region, you and Ambassador Dr. Erika Burnett, how much energy, not just energy, we know that too much work has been put on DAF, but what is it that we need to know that is new now? Like you were talking about the reintegration or the repatriation or the citizenship. Is there anything new from the AU?
Currently, no. You know, the summit just concluded, what, about 2 months ago, barely 6 weeks ago. Election. We're gonna wait and see what's going to happen. All I can say is that one of our strategies will continue to be engaging the member states because the AU is the secretariat of the member state. It's their job to fulfill what the member states have mandated, you know? So we are not going to cease the fire. We're never going to give up. We're going to keep pushing and pushing. And as things change, I promise you, Dr. Susan, I will come on or I will send you a message and say, this is what's happening. This is where we're going. This is the good news. But for right now, there's still a little crack in the door. They haven't shut the door on the issue of the 6th region and the diaspora. And the CEDO, which is the Citizens Directorate, we've been talking with them about some new ideas, new things, because we have an MOU with the African Union. So we're going to be renewing our MOU and just trying to get that energy out there again and try to go to the member states and get them, you know, energized about it. So in turn, maybe the AU can be energized by any means necessary, my sister.
You said it. It is pathetic because it's like a son or a daughter that was stolen away from a father, and the father and the mother suddenly recognize that, oh, I found my daughter was stolen and he's here, and the daughter should be the one fighting even to come back home. How do we reconcile this? Do you look at the AU as like you're saying, you know, we have to push? Must we really push?
Yeah. Sadly, this is what happens in institutions. And it's not exclusive to the African Union. It's sad because this is our house. This is the institution that we're relying on for the integration of the 55 states and, of course, the 6th region, her diaspora. So we're concerned. We have to keep our eyes on the prize. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are like right now or yesterday. And every inch that we make, we consider it a win because we're not giving up. The stakes are too high. And the other thing is that we're also not relying exclusively on the African Union. It is our right and our responsibility to come home. We engage the AU on certain aspects, but that's not the end all. And people have to understand that. Sometimes we put too much onus on the African Union when, again, it's these member states that we must engage. So I'm hopeful. I'm positive. Desta means happiness, so I'm always gonna be happy, you know. But we can't give up, and we have to keep sharing the word and sharing with the young people what opportunities there are on the continent as well, for them to come home and engage, whether it's to study, to visit, to relocate. There are opportunities right here on the continent. So in the principle of Sankofa, you know, look back, don't forget, touch another one, bring someone home, you know, but most of all, wherever you are, keep Africa in your heart.
I mean, I like that point when, and that's the lioness when I saw in you. Now it's not gonna be mama, it's gonna be empress, or it's gonna be the lioness. When you said no, I mean, we even give them too much attention. If you are a daughter or a son and you feel connected, and you, I mean, leave away all the hurt and like, okay, my parents sold me or they threw me, come back home. It is your birthright. And everything we've been talking about, citizen, is just a paper. The most important thing, you are there, and you can get that land without having citizenship. I mean, we're not saying that, we're saying some lies here.
Exactly. No, this is so important because many times, you know, and it is important, the citizenship or that status, right? That legal status. But for me, because I even had the opportunity in my first year here, based on the work we did with the Bob Marley Foundation and Nana Rita, I could have fast-tracked my status. But I waited because I wanted it for my entire community. I wanted it for all Black people that were coming home, particularly the Rastafari community, who had been here for decades, undocumented, faithfully in Shashamane. So I waited. So I got mine with the entire group. But as you said, a paper does not make you African. You know, the other day I heard one of my sons in Tautau, an activist, he said, my ideology is my biology.
Yes.
And I said, yes, this is exactly what it is. And our ideology as Pan-Africans, it is our biology. It's not even our faith. Today we could be Rastafari or Yoruba, and we decide tomorrow we're something else. You understand, in terms of spiritual orientation. But we cannot change this DNA, this genetic code that we have. And it's also this genetic memory that we need to rely on to help us reestablish and remember, because we've been dismembered, we've been pulled apart, right? Our language, our food, our culture, everything, particularly those of us, again, who came through the transatlantic slave trade, the Ma'afa. We're trying to remember, reassemble our identity. And that can only be done here on the continent. And it doesn't mean, again, that everybody's going to repatriate and everybody's going to live here. You know, that would be lovely. But the most important thing, come and touch the soil. Come and touch your soil, your Mother Earth, that breath, that energy that we can only get from this beloved continent. It's our birthright. And I don't need any paper from anyone to tell me I'm an African. Look at me.
Thank you. I mean, thank you. Thank you, because exactly that's the point. Maponga and I were working on this project to say, you know what? We don't, when you get it on the continent, we'll figure it out. But sometimes, though we have some of these African norms, like oh, respect for your elders, for your parents, which we do. But if you have that kind of a parent where you need to cease even your own rights from, so be it so. So we expect also the diaspora and really those whose hearts are beating for Africa not to wait. Take that right. If your father will not give to you, your mother will not take it. It is your own opinion. It is your land. It is your right. I mean, you didn't choose for them to come into the world through that process. So I think we should also be a little bit aggressive. If we really have the love of the continent at heart, why not? We can also be what we say, hey, these children, must we be really that so noble and so so subtle that everything according to them? Because like I said, that leadership on that house, if it doesn't work, we need to take it by force. You own the continent, like we say, you are black, you're African. You don't need any passport. Come on the land. You are there, Queen.
Yes, exactly. I could not have said it any better. You know, this is about your birthright. Do I need to beg for what I own? You know, and even and if someone is blind to it, that's their problem. And it's my problem if I want to wait on a blind man to lead me. Correct. I don't have to blame. So this is what the consciousness and the waking, young people call it being woke. You know, that's really what this is about, because once you're awake, then you act, then you know what has to be done. And what has to be done right now is reclaiming, is restoration. It's restoration time. And that cannot be done as an armchair African. That's my little phrase, where we sit comfortably, whether in Brooklyn or Berlin or Birmingham, and try to figure out everything and identify and make change and even tell Africa what they should do. Come home. Be the example. Be the change. We do not need, again, authorization or any approval from anyone, because we are African. As a matter of fact, it's our duty. And in many cases where you even have resistance, with your presence being here, over time, people will begin to see, that's why we need them at home. And so you lead by example. Let's, you know, there's a sister in the mind, she's always saying, let's close the talk shop and open the workshop. Correct. That's what time it is. You know, that's what time it is. Let's show the continent who we are, what our value is, and why it's important to ensure that we are reintegrated. But until you catch up, we're here.
Yeah, I'm just reading a content of a comment from the YouTube channel where we're currently streaming direct from. Only Ghana and Ethiopia have invited diaspora Africans back home via citizen. That's David, our brother, who is saying that no, the continent is open for everyone. Zimbabwe, Cameroon, everyone. You don't need an invitation. Invite yourself.
Exactly. It's ours. It's ours. And I tell people, and they're like, well, you know, and I said, if you're going to move from New York to California, what do? You find your job, you find out how much your airline ticket is, you make your budget, you have to find a space. It's no different. And the beauty is now there's enough of us on the continent in all 55 countries that you can make a call, or you can go on social media and find us, or go to a platform like Pan-African Daily TV and be able to get resource information. You know, we don't have any excuse at this point. We can't blame government, we can't blame AU, we can't blame even our elders for that matter. Come home. Come home.
Absolutely, my queen. I mean, this is the message that we're talking about here, Mama Desta. And that, for instance, can someone like the diaspora, our brother or our sister, come to the continent and stay hungry and don't have shelter?
No. It may not be perfect. And you may not be, if you're a meat eater, having filet mignon or having caviar and champagne every night, but you will eat. You will be cared for. This is what I found. You can go into, let me speak for Ethiopia, some of the experiences I had. going into even the poorest and humblest of home. They are proud to provide you with coffee and kolo and, arake and whatever to make you feel warm and make you feel at home. Even the myth that starvation is upon the continent no, we may have distribution issues, but food is everywhere in Africa, But again, distribution, politics, government, and these institutions are the ones that really need to work their stuff out. Now, we as individuals, we have the ability to come in freely. Again, for 5 years, I fed over 100 children a day. I didn't have an NGO. I just started feeding children. And here you go, 15 years later, we're talking about the success story of Yared, who is amongst, as you remind me, millions of African youth who are doing for their communities. They're inventors, they're entrepreneurs, there's so much. Well, we encourage them. We provide that sense of, yes, you can, to our children on the continent when they see, someone coming from outside, right, from abroad that comes in and gives just that little extra push for them, even though their village is probably, cheering them on. When we come and we do it, it takes it to a whole nother level. So let's not underestimate our power and our value. And again, we don't have to come in here with $1 million. Yes, plan. Yes, prepare. We're not advocating, just get on a plane and come and we'll work it out. Just like anywhere else. Again, plan and prepare. But we must be patient, even with ourselves as much as we are with each other. But let's not stop being persistent. That's the other P. Persistence.
Good. What would you say? For me, I think the diaspora has the spirit, the hungry spirit for Africa, just like the Africans on the continent that have the hungry spirit for the West, and they will do anything. They will die in the Mediterranean to be here. I mean, the risk involved is less to the passion and to their dreams and to achieving this, up to like saying, and we are sitting in the diaspora and like, oh, please, you better don't come because we've seen it all. Please stay there. We're even looking for a way to even come back. Now, that courage and that risk taken, do you think it's enough? Or do you think that, in the diaspora, some kind of thing like even though we know that we are not really comfortable, we don't feel safe at home with all the racism or whatever, but yet, something is just to tie us that we're not ready now to just like, what, I'm gone. And on the continent, they don't even say I have to plan. They don't even know where they are going to. They have no clue whether they're coming in winter and they're wearing their light African sun shirts. They don't even know where they are landing, but they just sit on that plane and go. They ride those boats, they go, and they found themselves somewhere. So why do you think, or what is it that the diaspora who says, we want to go back home, we want the AU to do this, do they really have that burning to say, I'm gone, I'm going?
Yeah. No, that burning desire, I think, has been subdued by colonialism,
yes,
capitalism, and creature comforts. And the latter, the creature comforts, we have it all in Africa. If you want the biggest car, the most palatial home, your Gucci, whatever it may be, we have it all here in Africa. Okay, and you've got 55 countries that you can pick from for those creature comforts. The other C is capitalism. There is something about that constant paycheck and, this certainty. But guess what? COVID shook it up for us because many people became unemployed or underemployed. And it became a wake-up call to say, what are we really depending on? There is nothing that you can depend, because there is no such thing as job security in the West. At any moment, it can be gone from you. So let's tick that box as well. The first and the most burning, rooted one that's gone from generation to generation, both at home and abroad, is colonial mentality. And
Mhm.
our beloved sister, Dr. Arikana, Ambassador Arikana, speaks about this a lot. It's
Mhm.
releasing those shackles. Marcus Garvey talked about it. Bob Marley sang about it. Releasing that mental slavery, because it creates fear. And that's the thing that's happening. It's that fear that's holding us back. Well, if I go and and doubting ourselves and what will happen and what will so and so say and what you cannot. There comes a point in time you have to move like those horse with blinders on if you want to run the race. And also if you want to ensure your children and your children's children future. And it doesn't have to be your biological children. We're talking about generations, the next generation of Black youth. What kind of example do you want to set for them? So if you don't even have the courage in yourself, let the next time you look at these young people who, for instance, were risking their lives for Black Lives Matter movement on those streets all over the world, saying, we matter, our lives matter. Let that spark that flame again in us, know that we can succeed on the continent. It's ours. And as I said, we have a choice. 55 countries, any climate you want. If you like the cool weather, you've got Cape Town. If you like the heat, if you love the sea, if you love the mountain, there is just so much. But we also have to claim it. You see, we're not claiming Africa. And that's a
Yes.
big problem. Because if you don't start by claiming it, if we're looking at it as just a place to vacation or to visit or somewhere else, but claiming it means that I'm African and that is my home. Now, again, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to live here. You may choose for whatever reason not to live here, but come home, claim it, recognize it. I heard I interviewed a brother the other day in Namibia, Brian Wheeler, and he said to me, he said, and if you don't want to repatriate your money, invest in business in Africa, So we have so many options, but let's claim it. Let's claim Africa, because if we don't claim it, others will. They did during the Berlin Conference when they carved up the continent and started picking and claiming. Let us not go down that road again. Claim what is yours. Claim it so we can indeed be a part of this grand renaissance and be here as beneficiaries for what is going to happen decades down the line, because it's coming.
Beautiful. Wine Deck is saying, no, one needs to be creative to survive in Africa. Of course, one needs to be. I mean, which other continent you still could be so creative? And Africans by nature are creative human beings. I even think that we become even dull because look at in the West, it's already saturated. It's at the end of the road. What is it that you can create again? But imagine a continent where you can create anything. I mean, just bottling our red soil and selling. Today, the world is selling energy. But pandemic, you have to put on a mask to breathe, even you need to buy. So, I mean, imagine that kind of continent, like you're saying, from zero, you can create anything and become the star. And then number two, we're telling the diaspora, why are the young people fleeing out? Because of your swag. Now take that swag on the continent and, make that Africa exactly the dream that you made, that you built the Americas, that you built the Caribbean. You brought that swag there. Everything was brought by you, the flavor, the song, the music, the style, the dance, the laughter, the theater, the everything you created. If you could create it there, you can recreate and make Africa the modern paradise. What about that?
Absolutely. No. And we use creativity every day to survive in the West, right? We have to be creative with our budgets. Look at the United States. They're still trying to raise the minimum wage to $13. It's insane. So if you're not a creative, you're not eating, okay, in the West, based on the wages that are earned. You have to be creative to survive in racist environments, right? Gender bias, misogynistic environments that don't respect or value the woman. So you're using your creativity every single day as a point of survival. Now, can you imagine using your creativity to truly create, to truly do something that's for you, for your people, for your family. You're using the same faculties, but now you're using it in a different manner and with a different outcome and a different impact and purpose. So the same things that we're doing to survive out in the West are valuable here and even more appreciated here, because again, everything is open. Everything right now is needed. We need social entrepreneurism. We need that sense of creativity to come in and say and so if we carry these tools from the West that we've been using to sustain ourselves and survive in societies that don't want us, that don't value us, that don't care about us, what about when we come home? It's just incredible. And that's my story and the story of so many that I know who have come home. And yes, we've struggled, but it's a beautiful struggle. It's a beautiful journey where the love and the support, that community support, that cup of tea from an elder, that look in the eye of someone who you can just read their mind. They're not even saying anything, or you don't understand each other's language, but that look in the eye of acceptance, of endearment, there is nothing like that. And this is where the healing of the Black nation will come in. This is where our healing will begin, because we are harmed, we're hurt. We've got post-traumatic slave disorder. We've got all forms of neo-colonial psychoses that we're dealing with. And only when you are home can that healing truly take place. It can begin in the West, but when you get home and you touch the soil, or you immerse yourself in the ocean or the lakes of your ancestors, when you pick a fruit from the same tree that your great grandmother ate from, that's the healing that we need in order to secure our future. The healing is here.
Queen, because you are, Kofi said, our beautiful Queen F. We love the guests that you bring here. You are the honorable guest, and the comments are coming in. Ano, and all of them are greeting you. And you see them, Sanovia Ridley. You're reading the comments in front of you, and they cherish everything. Why do they love you? Why do Pan-African Daily TV, my team from the chat box is the ones that always give me the direction, even the questions that I ask, because when I look at the chat, I know what I'm supposed to ask you for you to respond to them. So the spirit of awakeness that you're saying a lot now, but now the education, like what you are doing, is actually what the Pan-African Daily, we hold the conversation, it's like a simple talk, but I can guarantee you thousands that have been on this platform are confessing, and they're coming back every day. They're testifying of how the power of you, the guest that you're here, have transformed them to see things differently. Now, we're taking into entertainment. You're also one of that. Look at like I said, look at the entertainment industry in the Americas. That's one of the first things that America built its values on, depending on the Black man in America. Now we see our brother Tyler Perry. Look at the continent and the talent that you can testify that to me on the talent. And just imagine our diaspora always sitting there like, oh, I need a business, I need a this. I sit sometimes I'm like, wow, where do we need to start? Because the opportunities are just endless. Imagine you creating a small studio and begin to brand and just pick this talent and transform them and create the stories, give it to us on the Pan-African Daily TV. What kind of $1 million, $1 billion industry would someone like that do? Tell me.
Of course. Again, this is where the confidence comes in. We cannot be afraid of taking that step forward, because we have to ask ourselves, what's the other option? What security is provided for us seriously in the West? So many people's pensions are compromised. So many people's futures, even present on their job, is compromised. So if we want to look at it from the standpoint of what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? When you really put it on the table and weigh it out. Okay, if we want to be rational and think this process through and everything, what do we have to lose? Okay, maybe a little money. So what you will learn and what you will do through that process. And I believe in success, because even when something doesn't work out, it's not a failure, it's part of the journey. And so we can't also come home and be afraid, well, I came home and I spent $10,000 and this didn't happen. It's part of the journey that we have to go through. But that persistence is necessary. It's absolutely necessary if we're going to accomplish anything. And as I said, what is the other option? Do we sit in the West and be spectators? And then by the time we get the nerve up to come home, those opportunities are gone. And what you need to set up that small studio to start doing that production that would have cost you $2,000 and a really good camera. Now it's $200,000. Or Africans who are moving so fast on this continent are now filling the gap. They're not waiting anymore. There was a time back in the day when, my early days in the music industry in the 90s and early 2000s, when so many reggae artists, they would want them to come to Africa and perform here. Now that is not as desirable. There's so many acts right here on the continent, number one acts, whether it's a Burna Boy or a Wizkid or a Miss V of Ghana or whatever. So we're not lacking for that. You want to talk about Nollywood? You want to talk about production qualities and standards that have gone up? Tyler Perry would be in like, at what's happening here. So this is what's also happening. Africa is now running. Africa is really running. But because, again, these stories are not being told enough, because we need more support for Pan-African Daily TV and other such platforms, we would be able to feel encouraged. But this is where also the Black media, African media plays a role, because your listeners, your viewers can get to see and understand that it's real. We're here, we're working, it's successful, and there are millions of Mama Destas. So many stories out there. I am not unique. I am one of a pack who is doing things for Africa, by Africa, in Africa. And there is a place, but time matters. And right now, even with the free trade agreement just opening up, we've now connected 54 countries. And although it's new, it's going to start coming very, very soon. And I'm telling you, within the next decade, we'll have that common currency. So get with it, get home, take your rightful place. You don't have to wait for an invitation. What do you want? What do you see for your future? What are you committed to? And you're going to find support. You're going to find support, and it's going to work out okay, because there's no place like home.
Wow. It couldn't be said. Sometimes I feel like we don't take the advantage, particularly on this continent. I don't know how I'm going to cut it out. It's like I'll be knocking doors very soon and pulling them and say, what, like Marcus Garvey, we are going to start going. Why? Because you see the speed at which China is taking over. But then, because we are not speedy enough, we sit and look and complain and put our hands in the head and raise our hands up and even give the alarm signal, or the Chinese are coming, what our people, what are you doing just where you are? Like Ambassador Dr. Arikana said, what are you doing exactly where you are? Just put your hands on the head and cry and say, somebody's going to take my inheritance, my this. Or are you going to just, jump into the boat, kick them off like we usually do, and take your rightful place?
Yeah. No, but as I said before, and it was systematically done. It was planned to have us in this state of mind. But we can no longer use that as an excuse. And I must say this, I am receiving more calls now from young people under the age of 30 who want to come home, who are ready. They're like, Mama Desta, I'm coming. I'm ready. And so it may not be my generation, but this generation, the millennials, or what's it called, Generation Z, we're going to see some moves. We're going to see some moves being made, especially because they're realizing, unlike many of us who were activists, I mean, I marched, I did all of that in the United States, and you're hoping for change, but we're realizing that that change, you may have a Band-Aid here and a Band-Aid there, but it's never going to come because it's systematic. It's the way the institution is built. It's not built for us. So these young people are saying, we're out. We are out. So I think if we really watch and keep our fingers on the pulse, we're going to see a whole shift, a paradigm shift with young people who are on their way out. And it is only my hope and prayer that their parents, us, will not discourage or dissuade them from making that decision to come home. If they decide, I'm just going with my backpack, but I'm out, let's encourage them, because there's opportunities here.
Correct. So if our brains are washed, let the brains of our children not be washed. Let the children take their rightful place from us. If we were slow, let them take that right. I think we also raise our children in a way that they always have to be passive. They should not be aggressive. They should not question us. That's also one thing with us, the way we raise our children. We raise them to be humble, yes, as a moral, but we don't teach them to take what belongs to them, because we're also in our traditional kind of upbringing, those kind of parents that, you know, in the African way of, you have to respect your elders, you have to do this. What has that got to do with us teaching our children to be able to fight? Even me, I mean, I encourage my sons to say, you know what, you must tell me, you must know where to tell me to stop it. You must know. And honestly, I will not take it as a disrespect. So probably we also should be raising children and teaching them that the world is not just the heavens that they teach you. The world means you have to take your rightful place and also learn to correct. That's why we let the elders ruling the continent do what they want to do. That's why we let even our parents dictate to us what we should be correcting. And so we keep making the same mistakes and mistakes and mistakes in the name of whatever thing. What do you think? It is enough for us, not just also to tell our children to behave like this. Sometimes.
Yeah. You know, I raise my children to say anything that they want. It's just how they say it. I taught them to be thinkers, not followers. I taught them to have opinions and make sure that they can speak for themselves. And I tell you, to this day, they do just that. You know, they'll express themselves very, very, very freely. And it's a chance that we take, because especially living in the West, where our children are under down pressure for driving while Black, going to school while Black, walking while Black, driving while Black. I mean, you name it. So we do have a tendency in the West to try to protect our children. So we nurture them and put them in a state of mind. If the police stop you, this is what you're supposed to do. If this is what. So that it still goes back to this colonial mentality and the preservation of life that we're trying to do, especially, as I said, for my set of Africans who've come through the Ma'afa, you know, and it's no excuse, but it is a reality that you're trying to protect your children from being basically killed if a cop stops them, or from being harassed by a teacher or a principal at their school. And I've been through this. Like I said, I've got 5 sons and 5 daughters, and all of them were raised Rastafari with dreadlocks on their heads and so forth. So we as parents have to start checking ourselves and asking ourselves, how do we change so we can ensure the next generation change? And how can we deal with our elders in a manner that we're not disrespecting them, but we're certainly raising that level of consciousness and responsibility on theirs, because that's our duty too. It is our duty. Again, it's how we do it, because I would never disrespect an elder, whether I disagree with them or whatever. No, they may consider it disrespect by us pushing the envelope. But if you know within your heart of hearts that you're not saying or doing anything personal, because that's where the disrespect comes in. If you know the name calling and you don't see this, but just standing and being an example. Because this is what I tell people: when you show me, then I believe. You just talk, anybody can talk. Come home, show me who you are, show me what you can do, lead by example, and then I too shall follow you. So even these elders, this is the way for us to change their minds and hearts. And it's not easy, but if there's enough of us doing it, that mass, you're going to see change. And as I said, I think this next generation here, who is now in their 20s, we're going to see some serious change.
Absolute. I'm opening up the lines for questions, and I've been criticized in the past that, oh, Susan, you don't give the voices to the audience to make calls and ask questions. So the lines are open. If you want to address a question or a comment, or also add your voice to the conversation tonight, please do so by calling using our WhatsApp number +49 1578 211 2379. Yes, we're taking your calls, we're taking your questions, we're taking your comments on the conversation today with Dr. Mama Desta Meghoo. I mean, she prefers her name Mama. No one is going to take that away from her. Exactly, that's what Ambassador Ambassador Dr. Erica and I always like, call me mother. Just call me mother. And it makes my work much easier. And I'm held accountability. Please don't take that title away from me. I am mother, just like you say, mama. So the lines are open for all your questions and all your calls. We're ready to take your feedback on the conversation and what is it that you want to see? How engaged should we be? How awoke should we be? How pushful should we be? Are we just dormant? Are we also not, really fighting for this continent that we want to see? How much more input should we also take us? Hello?
Great evening, great night, Mama.
Yes.
You preach. Get them kids home. Let's get all our children home. Bring them home. Sound the alarm. Ring that bell. Get them to get to the continent. I have been begging my sister for a minute to get on board. I'm already giving her a place. We need our children home. Bring them home, Mama. Preach until the cows come home, and the children too. Thank you very much, Susan. Thank you very much. Great guest. Let's keep this going. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. So was it difficult for you to convince Mama to take the children home?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Take them home. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I know you're already there.
I'm there, so she doesn't have to tell me twice. I'm already on board. So, Mama, we have some more to bring on board. We have some more to reach. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but let's get them home. It's time to go home.
I mean,
you're not doing it.
Yes, you are a perfect example. I want you to share a little bit, just a little moment with Mama. What is it that you did? You went to Gambia and you met, and now I saw even on Facebook that Rutendo is posting your seeds, your agri seeds that you ordered from South Africa for your poultry farm in the Gambia. I mean, just in a couple of short space.
Well, let me share a little bit of what I have been able to accomplish. And not that I'm special or anything. It's just that, the calling came and I think it was just time to do it. You look at, pick one of any African country, and they all have, there are things that they need. And look at the import bill.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the things that they import. And we have the resources on the continent to provide these things. Those of us that are in the West, most of us have a little knowledge of how to get these things done. So if we take whatever knowledge we have, incorporate it with the people on the continent, in these countries, where the import bill is so huge, with the foreign exchange and everything else, why can't we go there and produce it? Why do we have to be why do they have to be spending money, the US dollar, to buy things that can be produced on the continent? And that's what I did. I'm not completely set up yet, but what I intend to do is I'm going to record the journey from the time I get there to completion. I already have a date set to leave for the Gambia, and Susan, as soon as the recording starts, I'm going to make sure that you get a copy of it, because I want this to be an example or a strategy that can be used by others. I don't mind being a pioneer, and I'm sure I am not really, because there are other people that have gone before me who has done it. But the thing is, we need more people to come home. It is not happening here. I don't care how much we protest. I don't care how much people think that these protests and all these civil rights actions, I don't care how much black president they get in America. The system is set up not for us. It's set up for other people. And we would never, as long as we are in that system, we would never see freedom. We have to leave. For those of us who believe that we have a right to be in the Americas or in the West, power to them. I feel, if that's what they feel they need, where they need to be, power to them. But again, we have to go home. Until we build our economic base, we would never get respect nowhere on the planet. Nobody respects us. No other race respects us. And they treat us the same way they see us. So until we claim home as home, build home, reestablish our economic base, if thereafter we can branch out, people would have more respect for us. And all the things that have been done to us in the past would not be happening anymore. But we have to go home and build home. And we have to kick all those who don't belong, get them out. They don't need to be in our house.
No need. No need. But I want to emphasize what our brother is saying, especially about the word us, because that is one of the problems also. Well, he's saying it in the right way, but one of the problems stopping us from coming home is the them versus us narrative, because we don't see each other as one, and so that's part of the process. We have to see ourselves as Africans, the same Africans that we will come and meet right here on the continent. Just as the brother is saying, emphasizing us. He did not use the word them once, which was perfect. So many times as Africans coming from the African diaspora, the 6th region, we incorporate that them and us mentality. And you mentioned it even before. Well, they sold us and no, listen, this is ours, by us, for us, with us, and through us. This is how Africa is going to succeed. And Africans even who choose, because I believe in the freedom of choice. If you decide as a Black person that your best place is in Savannah, Georgia, or Kingston, Jamaica, that is up to you. I believe in free choice. But what we're talking about is something bigger. How do you see yourself? How do you identify? If you are an African, you must identify with the continent of Africa.
Correct.
And then things will follow from that, because there is a connectivity. Chinese in the diaspora or Israelis in Brooklyn, they're sending home. That's why their countries are growing and thriving, because of the identity. They see themselves connected. So this is crucial. How do we see ourselves? Let's start with the mindset.
Absolute. The mindset. How do we see ourselves? How do we identify ourselves? Do I see myself like, oh, I'm from, I'm from the continent? Do the others in the diaspora say, no, I'm Jamaican, I'm Haiti, I'm Brazilian, I'm Mexico? That's the, but it's coming all from the colonial mindset, isn't it? Like you said, they divide and conquer, and now they're not even dividing again. We're just facilitating it to even stay more disunited.
Absolutely, absolutely. It worked. It was a perfect plan. And let's face it, Europeans are very good at plans, especially long range plans and devious plans. You know, they have perfected it. And so we know, just to kind of go back to even the origin, where you're talking about the style of Pan African daily TV being organic and cultural, we have to find ourselves again and come out of that robotic way, their system, their mentality, we have to flow the way we flow in a very organic manner. That is what? African. It's the African way. The way we walk, the way we talk. Let's rediscover ourselves, because this is where our power lies. This is where our strength lies, you know? And so it's a process, and we have to keep talking about it. And we need platforms like the Pan-African Daily TV to allow us to share this, to connect each other through the airwaves, through the TV, through visuals, through art, through song. We have to continue to just push that envelope, and we can never stop this message. You know, Bob Marley sang about it, Fela sang about it, Miriam Makeba, you know, we cannot stop, because it's going to happen. Whether Black people are ready or not, it's going to happen. The reclamation, the reconciliation, the reunification of the Black family at home and abroad. It's happening as we speak.
Okay, there's a question here from Irene Kalibala, who said, what is your advice on the stranded diaspora who cannot go back home due to political insecurity of some of our government who see them as troublemakers?
There's 55 countries. So even if you're not going back to your home of birth, you can go to a country next door. You can still be on the continent, because that is what is key. And a lot of people don't realize this too, you know, the numbers that show migration of Africans who are leaving the continent to go abroad, they don't reflect the growing numbers and the huge numbers of African diaspora right here on the continent. And I say that in the context of Ghanaians working in Zambia, Nigerians working in South Africa, Ethiopians working in Tanzania. We have choices. And if that's the choice that we have to make until things are settled politically or otherwise, or you're in a safe space, at least still come home. And sometimes even coming to another country allows you the ability to rebuild or reconnect with your home country while those issues are worked out. So there is a place and a space for you here. It doesn't matter. Like I said, 55 countries, we have choices.
Good. All right. Mama Lioness says, Dr. Tata, can you define respect according to you specific African culture? I think this question was already answered by Dr. Mama Desta. I paraphrase it to mean that, for instance, or in the generation that we're living in, particularly like all in leadership, if we say we were colonized, so particularly even our leaders, so us being in the leadership, we're still under that brain colonial status. And now, where do we position our culture when our minds are being on that colonial path? Now, if my child is awake, you know, and knows the value of her identity, for her or him to disagree with me on this concept, I don't think it's disrespect. Now, what I define as that kind of a traditional kind of do as I say. Do as I say. So we don't give our children or the young generation even the right to question certain institutions that we put on and held onto it. And we swear by it. If it was like this, it has to be like this. Now, how are we going to meddle It's the same thing. Like my son asked me a question, Mama, you people are talking about the diaspora going home. Diaspora are people that have lived out here, born out here, have certain cultures. And when they come back home, you're talking about reintegration. It's like enslaving them again. Don't you think that there has to be a middle way? Very correct. Mama Desta, it's like you, born in the Jamaica, raised up in America, now you are in Ethiopia. Did you really have to integrate and said, no, I have to be Ethiopian because I have to leave everything, or there's some values that you also brought with you that made this melange to produce something unique?
Absolutely. And again, this is where the reconciliation comes in. You're not surrendering who you are, the essence of who you are and what you feel. And remember that culture is not static. So even if this is what we did with the elders and so forth all along, there's still space for growth and development. Again, it's not what we do, but how we do it. And I would also flip that question. Is an elder disrespecting a youth by stamping or trampling on their creativity, on their questions, on their aspiration to want something new, want something different? I should also say this. We have to be careful how we couch the conversation about Africa as if it's backwards. It's so modern. Every single thing you want, every TV show, there's Netflix here, there's, you know, everything that's contemporary is on the continent. So when we talk about this amalgamation or reconciliation, it's not like we're coming home to huts and, you know, no internet and people are not exposed. And so we have to come home and teach them. No, that's really a cruel assumption, again, perpetuated by mainstream media. You know, we have it all. We have the gamut of the most traditional cultures that are still preserved, and we love that. But we also have the most contemporary experiences and spaces, again, in the 55 countries. So we have choices, but come home so you can see for yourself what those choices are, and then you can begin to make the right decisions as to what is right for you. And guess what? We may make a certain decision when we come home, and then instead of going east, it has to go west. That's okay. Be open. Don't be this static, you know, person that cannot move. You know, you have to be able to be flexible and open to grow and develop, just as we want our elders to be flexible and open and grow. We're saying we don't want them to be so stringent. So we can't be that same ourselves. Come home with that open mind, that flexibility.
Particularly the kind of elders that we're talking about here are the ones that have been hijacked by the colonial systems. And we're talking about the leadership, no matter how. So I put myself sometimes in like, if my father or they are all our fathers from our African structure, and the leaders on the continent, they're all our fathers. But if you look at some structures, some mismanagement, some mindset, why do they look to the West for solutions, for instance? And then you put it in an African culture like, no, because we're young, because we are the new generation, we should not question that. And we take it now, exactly like you say, and stereotype it. It is an African culture not to talk to disrespect your elder or to question them. I mean, I think we will have to start breaking up some of those things we call tradition. We're going to separate from a lot, and we're going to integrate a lot, and we're going to take out some that we say now this is developmental, because it's not every structures that we have here. And that's why I love this comment from Owa Abantum, who say, family structure is the key to traditional government. But he also says the family structure is led by chiefs and kings that are like baby boys. You know, because we keep saying it. The voices on the continent. How many times has Professor Pielo Lumumba said they are puppets? And imagine us even now in the status, or the general critical mass is saying our leaders are puppets. Now, where is the African structure of that respect? Where do you place that in terms of governance, in terms of the way the continent is? Why do they respect the Chinese than you, their own children? Why do they not create that opportunity? Mama Desta was saying, you need to push the doors, you need to force the envelopes, you need to keep reminding them. And we ask, should we beg to belong? Now, what kind of structure is that?
Exactly. But this is where the mother comes in.
Yes.
Basically, we have to groom an entire new generation. So we have to take responsibility as well. What are we teaching our children? Because it doesn't take long. Within a couple of decades, we can grow a whole new generation with a certain mindset. But who is doing growing? How are we telling our children they should be? But this is the power of the mama. This is the power of the woman, and why it's so important. Obviously, fathers are involved as well, but we're saying what the mother can put into that child, what the mother can instill into that child, into the next generation, it's a phenomenal opportunity. So let's not underestimate, when we go back to family values and the role of the mama and the aunties in raising a whole new generation. Because let's face it, some of the old heads, you just have to wait for them to pass. It sounds cruel, that's the reality. Some will just have to pass. Bob Marley sings, some will have to suffer, some will have to die. You see? And so that is the reality. But we cannot wait. That's what the point is. We cannot wait. We cannot beg. We cannot cajole. We cannot bow. You know? We have to do our part and push it little by little. And it may not seem like a lot is happening, because if you're moving an inch at a time, it makes it feel like, my gosh, what is this journey? But you're moving. That's the most important thing, that we keep moving. And we have a duty also, because again, I'm putting my bets on this next generation. Can we make sure that at least there's a passport drive? Many children can't, or families can't travel because they have no passport. That's the first step. Can we do community passport drives to ensure that people have passports to travel? Because there are some political or institutional things that have to happen. Passports and visas is just one of them. Okay. And that can be simply quantified. How much does a passport cost? How many children in a particular community or young people? These are practical things that can be done to encourage it. Because I'm telling you, when I see somebody that gets their passport for the first time, it is like a ticket to freedom. So let's not underestimate even what a travel document can do to the psyche and to the young person who does want to come but doesn't have a clue. So you see, we're here in the middle. You've got the elders, you've got us in the middle, and then you've got the young people. We have to start taking responsibility. We have to start doing more to make sure that we don't perpetuate what has happened the generation before, where it's basically colonial rule. Looking like us.
Looking like us. Africans, we need to wake up. We need to wake up and act in what we know is right for the continent. I want to thank Mama Desta so very much for this powerful encouragement. Like you talked about travel. I mean, I remember those days when we went to travel. I mean, it's like, what is it? It's like you won a medal. Like even just saying it, that I'm traveling. And then right, like in some neighborhoods, because you know that it is a big thing. It is like it's traveling. And so they start even hiding, telling the neighbors and friends, oh, don't tell anyone I'm traveling, you know, because of jealousy or because of witchcraft, you know, in our day. And so exactly. So just that notion of traveling and even keeping it is a whole ritual. It's a whole breakthrough. It's a whole different mind. And you see, the community will just be looking at you like, wow, he's traveling abroad. So it's like an achievement. It's like something. But it's the same feeling, honestly, I get. I used to do also advise Germans or foreigners who want to, discover Africa and stuff like that. That's where I started to sell the Africa narratives in another format through the festivals and events I used to do. But then you saw also this spirit of that time, The Europeans that were like, when they go into Africa, the way they profile it here in their neighbors, in their community, like, oh, I was in Africa. It is like the whole world magic. So there is nothing small in this ideology of really traveling, because we are always thinking that traveling from the continent to the West is like an achievement. It's like you're running away. Honestly speaking, even the Europeans going to your continent, I'm telling you, it's like they won a lottery. And when they come back and they start describing, that's why they bring all the wrong stories and the negative stories, because any Mzungu that has left and gone to Africa, if you see the way they describe Africa here, you an African, you will sit there like, wait a minute, is this the Africa that you know or not?
Is there another Africa?
Because the excitement with which in their own European knowledge and eyes, the way they see the Africa, but I can believe you. And I can tell you once, I am a testimony. I can give you one. That's my first life on working for Africa. I worked to serve the European for my continent. That not working for them as a job, but that was what I used to do. And I can give you thousands of testimonials how when they come back and they bring these stories to us, oh my God, it's like they have achieved their dream, their lifetime dream, just being on your continent. Even though they went as tourists and they went to the safari parks and stuff like that, it is a whole thing. You go to their houses. We used to do documentaries where we visit them at home. I mean, even just the sculptures, all these things that you Africans don't even want to sample them in your house, the mask, your painting and that. I mean, you go to a European house that has been on the continent, you come back and ask yourself, who is more African? I mean, this is how these values are. When you think that your country is a shithole, as they say, please, some other people that you're just admiring them, it is a god to them. If they look at you, most often we say, oh, they look at us and like we're racist, like, oh, it's because we're black. No, they envy you with everything. They just want to be like you. They just want to be like you. They want to be where you are, but you don't know it. So traveling and just seeing, it's too much of education. It's too much of freedom. Just even coming and knowing that, oh, this is what I thought, nah, but this is not it. It is already another school of education without you having a certificate, okay? So I'm picking up this call. Hello?
Hey, Sister Tata. Hey, Mama.
Yes.
Greetings.
I just want to say true that traveling is the key. I'm calling from Detroit. I was a very quiet, shy kid, very quiet. And always daydreamed. But I'm from a family that didn't encourage a whole lot. My mother was a hardcore, still is a hardcore JW, Jehovah's Witness. So her idea was the world is coming to an end and just get a job. And I just could not buy that. And so when I finally got a chance to travel, one of the things that we must encourage our children and our youth is when you go out to the world, you take an imaginary bag with you and you become a hunter-gatherer. You gather as much information as you can, you put it in that bag, and you bring it home and put it on the community table, and you share it.
Yes.
That is how we learn, and that is how we grow. Traveling is the key. It's another part of an education.
Correct.
You know, it's just another way. We as Africans are visual and oral. That's why they always throw us the shiny object, because we are visual, oral, and rhythmic people. But when you go out and study things, you see. I really got a true sense of what Europe was built like from I've never been to Egypt, but I saw it in Europe. I sure did. You know, and so, yes, it is the key. And I want to thank you ladies for being so encouraging and uplifting. And thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Our regards out there to Detroit. Thank you so much. Mama Desta, how did you feel about that? Because you talked about traveling, and we have a show that will be coming up also, a conversation of Travel Africa. That's going to be one of the main, our news homepage is coming up soon. And one of the particular icons is going to be Travel Africa. And we want to gather all these experiences of Africans in the world, how they travel, not just from Africa to the West, but also from even Africa to other African countries, and also being in the diaspora and traveling to Africa. Because like what the brother said, honestly speaking, when I went even to the museum here in Germany and I saw my history there, something that I never knew on the continent because it was obvious. I'm from Africa, so we see ourselves and like, you know, we don't value it. But now the question why we want to put on this show of the Travel Africa is, what motives do we travel? Because if we diaspora actually travel on the same ideology, like the brother said, coming to collect information, and put it on the table, I'm telling you, we are the richest, because first, we're the ones that travel. We're everywhere to be found, right? And so imagine us sitting, and if we came purposefully to study the West, and that's the program that we are initiating, you know, travel to study, because that's exactly the purpose the Europeans travel to Africa. They travel to study us, study our natural resources, study our material, bring it, sell it to their people, make money out of it. It's not only the minerals. Even traveling is one of the biggest industry that makes too much money. Now, but we Africans, we travel with another concept. Oh, because my continent is worthless, now I travel to come and look for a job. The moment you travel to come and look for a job, you're going to stay a house slave. But if you had traveled for something else, you did be making some money, some really cool money, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know, COVID changed so much in terms of travel. It really did, both within the continent and outside. And one of the benefits or the pro side of it was that Africa realized she's on her own. So we have begun to see a shift on the continent in terms of what you talked about, this sort of reliance, even the travel, right? They used to travel for health. Who was traveling now from Ghana to go to the UK now for COVID for health? Nobody. Okay? So we're beginning now to see our own value based on these horrible circumstances that have happened through this particular virus. So there is a shifting on the notion of travel and where do we travel and how do we travel and so forth. And again, 55 countries right here on the continent, and it's a lot easier to move within the continent than trying to even get abroad. And again, the COVID numbers and so forth are so high, there's no incentive to really go out there. So I wanted to put that on the table in terms of where we are in a realistic sense. Now, the future of travel, where the continent is concerned, with the free trade agreement, which is going to also facilitate not just goods and services, but movement of people, right? So where before it was difficult to go from, let's say, Ghana to Ethiopia or Ethiopia to South Africa, those borders are going to begin to relax. And you will be able to see an increase of movement between Africans, country to country. Also with the promotion of an African Union passport. So these things are on the horizon. The question is, will we take advantage of it? Because this is usually what happens, right? Opportunity is there, even access, but we don't take advantage of it. We need to, you know, I advise clients sometimes, similar to the brother when he was saying, we take this imaginary bag and we sort of load it up with our experiences. Well, I say when you want to come home, get a small box, put it somewhere very visible and mark on it Africa, and start to put in that box, those valuable things that you know, whether it's that, you know, like for me, it was my Marcus Garvey Philosophies and Opinions, some of my books, you know, it was my Ashanti doll. It was, there's just these special little things that connected me to my memories of being a Pan-African in the West that I wanted to bring home with me. So it makes it real. It makes it tangible. You're packing and getting ready to go, getting ready to travel, you know? So I agree with my brother 100%. And this is one of the things, especially in the United States, people don't travel. A person from Ohio probably has never been to Illinois. And this goes for us, you know, Black people who are in the 6th region likewise. So it really is about shifting this mindset and asking ourselves, where can we have a better life? Where can we be where you look like the other people. You're not the minority, and you're not afraid, again, of driving while Black, walking while Black, shopping while Black, learning while Black, so on and so forth. Claim it. It's yours. You need no permission. You don't need to check any boxes. This belongs to us. Well, Nike said, just do it. Just come home.
Just come home. Absolute. Thank you so very much, Mama Desta. And yes, everything that you shared with us today, we appreciate it. Mama Lioness had said, I don't know if I predefine you. I don't know. I don't understand that statement. I'm sorry if you felt that way. I think I was just clarifying what you said in another notion of the African culture. I don't know. Maybe it was a misunderstanding, or if there is anything that you want us to clarify about it, please drop a message on our WhatsApp, and we can hold that conversation after the show. Yes. Yeah. So
this is cool.
Mama Lioness is cool, of course, yes. And she's been pumping us with flowers and hearts and everything, and putting on the yes, of course we know, but maybe I did address something in a way that I didn't predefine. No, I can't predefine any of us, my queen. So what this Travel Africa is going to be about is like, exactly, because you're also in this focus, Mama Desta. I mean, just even traveling among us, it's enough, particularly us that have been in the diaspora. Who wants to see what again? Do you want me to see London, which is the same like France, like Belgium, like America? It's just the same, different names, but the same things? No. We want to go to a continent that is diverse from everything, whether we're going to not Victoria, to Zimbabwe Falls, or we going to the Serengeti parks. My goodness, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Please,
or we want to go to Addis Ababa.
Do from to feed you some content.
Yes. So yeah, we are looking forward. We're looking forward, or going to the Nile and to meet you where we are. So one last advice and a takeaway for us, Dr. Mama Desta.
Again, claim it. Claim who you are. And if you have any doubt, stand in front of a mirror. Look at yourself, see who you are, see Africa within you, claim it. That's where your journey begins. That's where your travel begins, because it's not just to physically travel. You have to emotionally, psychologically, spiritually travel within yourself, find yourself as Africans. It's vast. It's unending. It's the beginning of a new life, of a new way. And Africa is the future. The rest of the world, what is there? Africa is the future. So you better be on board.
Thank you so very much. But one last question, I think Mashal from the Dominica asked a question and I didn't see it. I'm sorry, it came in the WhatsApp. Okay, he's calling. I think he wants to ask you direct before you leave. One more question and we are quitting. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening. Good afternoon to you. Yes.
Well, great program today and your guest. I just want to say something very short. I believe that it might be in the meantime. What's going to happen in the meantime? People preparing. But I believe if we can get some assistance from the continent, get our ships, get our airlines, industries, and do some business with us down here and African, make a connection. In the meantime, it could help develop and build up that relationship as well. The whole world is affected, and so on. But if we can do businesses like that from Africa and the West here, that would be a great idea, I think. Just my input. But thanks to you, wonderful queens. You're just great.
Thank you very much, Mashal. Thank you out there for staying there and watching. Yes, thank you. All right. Yes, Mama Desta, one last word on that even before we relocate or repatriate, can we not just start doing business?
Well, it's already happening. It's happening on a micro level. And so again, nothing is stopping us when we say, can we do business? What do you want to do? What product do you want to send from Dominica to Ghana, or from Ghana to Dominica? This is up to us now. And that's why I talk about claiming it. We have to now take responsibility for our future. We can't sit and wait for any government, whether it's a government from the West or a government from the continent, to answer our problems or to address our issues. We have to do it. Lead by example and build it. There was this movie, I forgot the name, Kevin Costner or something, said, build it and they will come. That's what we have to do. Build it and they will come. There are many laws and agreements in place between governments, bilateral agreements, all of that. And that's wonderful. Trade agreements, all of that. But what does it mean to the everyday average person who does not have $500,000 to export or start a business or do things according to WTO phytosanitary rules or whatever? What can you do within your own capacity as an individual, as a family, as a collective? Maybe it's 4 or 5 families that come together and start an enterprise and make that shift and make that move. Whatever it is, do something.
Wow. I also had a feedback here. I think this one was coming from Nigeria. You are a great woman. I've found memories of your days in acting with the Edinam Atansis and Ayo and the rest. But it's our mama's kitchen in operation, so I dashed down for my chicken light soup. Kudos to your team and return to your office. And so address to you. You used to be an actor?
No.
Okay, this should be, this should be
another life, maybe, but not in this life. I was always what we call womanager. I managed, again, Rita Marley, Sonia Coulson from Nigeria, but never on the stage, never sing, never on the stage. So,
yeah, I mean, I was just like, okay, but maybe that one did not feel
the portfolio.
Was not in the portfolio. Anyway, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Mama Desta. And yes, we keep in touch with you. This is the second time, and this is never gonna be the last time, because you're one of those voices that when you come here, you put too much, you make our hearts lighten up, and we just want to dive. So thank you so much for being with us here, and we look forward to another wonderful session with you again on the Pan-African Daily. And why not? I'm coming directly to Ethiopia, and we sit at that place where we belong, and we tell the stories to the world, isn't it?
It's your home. It's your home. And keep doing what you're doing. We need your Pan-African platform, the Daily TV. We need you, my sister Susan. So we're praying for you, sending you good vibes from the mountaintop in Addis Ababa.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Take our regards back home to the land of origins, and to all the queens and kings out there. We respect you. We are in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Yes, we are rounding up this show. We're rounding up this show to end of the conversation for today. And I can see my technical team is somewhere out of the studio, and I need to get him back here with me to conclude this conversation. Right. As you can see from the Pan-African Daily TV, is a creative studio where Iya is sitting right there, and on the technical team, and just went out of studio, and now I have to end up this conversation without having my technical team right here beside me to end the show. Yeah, I have to see. I have to throw it out to wake him up from the other studio room to control the panel with me. Yeah, thank you, Iya, for being here. I'm sorry. I know it's tiring sitting here every day with Mama to coordinate these things, but yes, that's what we are here for. We are here for your generation, and so keep it up, baby. Thank you so much for your support. I want to thank all of you that have been watching, and I thank you so much for your comments. make sure the comments are really critical enough. Please don't keep anything back. If there's anything that you see that we do here on the Pan-African Daily that you know that we can do much better, please don't hesitate to share it with us. If we sometimes go out of our conversations and touch maybe some sensitive things that you think, oh, maybe we could have said it differently or do it differently, we are so damn open. Me particularly, I'm just serving. So I'm at your disposal. I take it the way it is. We go with it. I'm not here like an advisor. I'm not here like a consultant. I'm not here like a teacher or a trainer. I'm just like you, just sitting here hosting these people, and we share the conversations. And I pick all your questions and your comments, and I throw it back to the guests so that, you know, we hear it. What I do mostly is I know that we are coming from the diaspora with another mindset. We also watching from the continent with another mindset, to combine the understanding of what our guests, those that are coming from the continent, if the diaspora really would clearly get the message and understand the purpose, or the diasporans that have been born and we get continental guests here and they talk about their stories. Do you really get the point? That is the most challenging thing that is happening here on the Pan-African Daily TV. If I wasn't hosting guests, that would have been the most simple thing that I would do. If I was just a blogger, you know, and just do my thing, that would be the most simple things. I would design questions and throw them out there. But, you know, trying to get our minds united to understand the purpose of the conversations, that's one of the most things that I fear a lot. And so I don't want any clash in misunderstandings and everything. I try to do it so much to the simplest that we could be on the same level. And so I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your feedback in any way that you can do to grow the Pan-African Daily TV. And as I said, we are currently working on the news homepage. Remember, the AfroWorld.tv was just a platform for every other things, for content creators and for whatever. But now we're coming with the Pan-African Daily TV news homepage, where we do really the news as it should be. Because we are not just a news, we're an institute, we are a news, there's somebody, but group of journalists that are coming up, we're putting up actually that massive platform, which is going to be called the ANN or PANN. They're still deliberating on it, Pan-African Network Broadcasters or whatever. So if you have a suggestion for the name, that we don't want it to be a CNN to a ANN, or want to just pick something and just change and look like, we don't want to look like. We are unique, isn't it? Or do you want us to call it also, like we say, the Pan-African Daily TV? Then we can put the DTV. Is that what is suitable for you? Give us your feedback. We want to know how we want to call this news platform that is going to share content and productive news. And so you'll be having reporters here telling us about real news, breaking news. Those are professionals, maybe, sport, entertainment, cultural activists, entertainers, you know. And exactly, that's what we'll be doing. By coming up this Monday, what I would like to do with my small team is to give a small short training into the background of hosting on the Pan-African Daily TV. Like I said, I know some of you are damn tired of seeing me, honestly speaking. Me, I am not. I can see you, and I will see you even till after life. But of course, some people are just like, oh, Susan, can't you just do something else? And we see some other person. No, I know that's not the feeling. That's just my thinking. What I'm saying is that, yes, we are expanding and we have a lot of things to host. We have a lot of content. We have too many young people on the continent that are doing a lot of things. And honestly speaking, I can't do all this hosting by myself. So I'm giving out a small training as being a co-host on the Pan-African Daily TV from the diaspora and on the continent. But for what I see now, I see all the people that have applied and registered, even though we're just going to take only 20 for the first training. It's just a basic thing. And then we take the other groups as usual. But I still miss those from the diaspora. Please, if you're interested to join this co-host team and you say, I'm a blogger, or also I have my YouTube channel and I do this kind of hosting and I interview guests and stuff like that and hold conversations, or do something else, or do presentation. You have a topic that you want to present every day or once in a week or twice, we're going to give you the slot on the Pan-African Daily TV. We know a lot of people that are doing such things. If you need our platform and say, my program is coming up and every Wednesday at this time, we could give you that slot, of course. So to keep the audience really current about different things that are happening, and also to see the talents that we have on the continent out there. So yes, we're doing it on Monday because Monday is our day off. But tomorrow we're gonna have a guest. Let me see what Naisha has put out here. Give me a second, family. Let me check who is coming on the show tomorrow. Honestly speaking, like I said, these things, they come in late. Sometimes, like you heard Dr. Mama Desta said, okay, she said, Taini Cherie. It's gonna be a first-time guest that that I'm going. I think she's from the UK and she's been doing incredible work out there. And Naisha wanted us to have her on the show. So normally we were supposed to have Queen Dambi from the Congo, but due to some changes, she has to shift her program for next week, Saturday. So we will be hosting Taini Cherie. If you could already type, you're going to see her marvelous work, or just type in on search engine Taini, Tearney Cherie. So that's who we're going to be having. She looks smart, young, beautiful as usual, and I know intelligent, of course. And Naisha will not give us a guest that is not fitting in the context that we all share together. So thank you, Naisha, out there. And I also want to thank the guests that have been watching from the other platforms. It is unfortunate I don't have a combined view, so I can really not take your questions from the other platform. I'm so sorry. But we're working to get a collective overview from all our platforms so that we can take also the questions and your comments from the other platforms that you're watching. But just stay on doing what you're doing. We're building one step after the other, one step at a time, and we're going to get there. So thank you so much for being here with me, sharing this wonderful conversation. We see ourselves again tomorrow with this wonderful guest. Please watch out for the flyers that I'll be dropping. And when I drop, because I said I can reach out to everybody, make sure you share. And for the newcomers, please just click and like the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube or our Facebook pages or our Instagram. And the name is unique. You're not going to find it anywhere again. So it's only one. So you would not make a mistake. Type it anywhere. You see us come up and you see our logo. Just click subscribe and click notification. Why? Because like I said, we're a small team and we're doing our engagement, our legacy for the continent. We're not getting paid for it. We're not asking for payment. But what we just need is the capacity to share, to reach out everybody is what is really a challenge to us. So many people come back to us like, oh, I don't get updates. I don't know when the program is coming up. And we always advise them, please just click and subscribe and click the notification bell. So you don't want to worry about that. If you trust us, you trust our guests, you just know when I'm live. When I'm live, you know I'm live. Yes. So please do that. Do that and advise any order of our followers to do that. Click the subscribe and notification button. It's just 2 taps. Tap, tap, and you're in. And so if you get my newsletter or not, you would know that we are live. So thank you so much. We see us tomorrow. Good night to you out there and have a wonderful, beautiful weekend. Irrespective of the pandemic, please make it the African style. You know what we do. You want to do a house party? Do it. It's the beginning of weekend because I'm already, as I leave the studio, it's going to be a party here at home, right? A few friends, we hang out, we chill out, we laugh, we drink, we dance, and that's life. What more else do you want? So make yourself comfortable. You are African, you're a goddess, you're a king. Wherever we are, we create entertainment, we create joy, we create our space, we make it the most beautiful space. So there's nothing like we're locked down, we can't do this. No, we do it the way we want it and the way we know how to do it. Okay, so make your evening and this weekend a more enjoyable and comfortable one at home with your loved ones, with your family, with your wives, you know, with your Cherie Cocos and whatever. So yeah, we see ourselves again tomorrow. Bye-bye. Good night. Bye.